Welcome back to another episode of Spurs of the Moment. Last week was a busy one as the boys touch on the FA Cup and then a return to the Premier League to recap the win against Brentford and draw against Everton. If you've been wondering to yourself all week, does Jay ever want to see Højbjerg touch the field again? Does he consider Mickey Van de Ven to be an Adonis? Then this is the episode for you. With 3 games in 10 days, there's a lot to cover. So let's hit it.
Tottenham are the greatest thing the world has ever seen. Tottenham are the greatest thing the world has ever seen. Tottenham are the greatest thing the world has ever seen. And the Spurs go marching on. Glory, glory, Tottenham.
Here we are.
Episode what, 7?
7.
We have missed a couple games.
We have.
So sorry, faithful listeners, for leaving you in the lurch.
Quiz.
We thought we'd do today. We're coming off of the back or coming out of sort of however we feel about the Everton game. It's Sunday morning. I think what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about Brentford and then talk about the game yesterday. So I guess let's get started with the Brentford game. How do we feel about that?
I like the result.
Tale of two halves, really.
Yeah. I feel like it seems to be the way we're playing lately. We don't really put a whole game together. It's like 15 or 20 minutes, but man, was that 15 minutes amazing.
Oh, it couldn't have been better.
And then I guess maybe not talking about players right away, but what a difference. I don't know what Ange said at halftime. He must have said something, because they were definitely miles better than that first half. Brentford is a good team, and they're coached super well. Frank is just, he coaches to the game. It's not like he has a particular style. He seems to just cater his game plan to whomever they're playing.
It seems to me like teams are finding that they can sort of bully us around a little bit. I feel like
I think that's a tactic.
And it's growing increasingly frustrating because we're getting bullied. We're not getting the calls that we need, and if we bully back, it seems like there's this I hate to say this because there's something against Tottenham. Like, we're not getting the calls that we want, and they're seeing us as being sort of being bullies. Like the rest.
You know what it's like? You know what I think? I think it is, and this may be wrong thinking, but it sort of feels like Ange gave permission to the refs early to not call, because he said early on, he said it's not about the refs, it's about, however he phrased it, we have to abide by the refs' decisions, and it's sort of like he's giving them a free pass on not making calls. It ultimately is a judgment call. They are very subjective, but it does.
These teams are like baiting Romero. Like, let's try and get these guys.
Well,
and the refs are allowing it to happen. Yeah. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do that, but the refs are allowing it to happen. Like, I feel like they're going above and beyond in the attacks, where it's like it's getting to the point where, like, no, they're getting fouled, but they're not calling it.
Well, let's come back to that, because I think there's some important points. But just going back to the Brentford game, Richarlison is becoming an absolute beast. He's working his butt off. I wish that he could hold the ball up a little bit better, but I felt in the Brentford game he did do that quite well. But he chases after everything. Talk about a pest. He is just a pest to the other team. And and Werner, I thought, had a tremendous game. That he was the impetus behind that whole second half opening. They got it over to that left side, and he was just. I think his pace is just scaring people.
He's got his incredible pace.
Yeah, his pace is amazing. He's like more of a track star to me than a soccer player. Like how many growing up, we had several players on our little league team that were like that, where it was like could beat anybody off the ball or on the ball just by and it's just sort of disappointing in the final that final pass that he needs to make or that final shot, it's just sort of like, oh man.
But you could
good on
argue
you
that
for putting yourself in that position, but it's got to be a little bit more fine-tuned.
you could argue that Odogi goal was he should have had an assist, even though it did kind of ricochet off of. And then the one ball into Johnson was just inch perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's got like 3 assists, and at that point, 3 assists in 3 games. I mean, I don't know what more you could ask for.
Yeah, putting balls in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he even said, and just said too, he's not really here to do that. He's even said my game is. I think he will.
You can
he's
say
going
that.
To.
And that's the hope. I feel like maybe I was telling you, Dad, if you were to take away his shots on goal and maybe some of those final third passes, he would be creme de la creme. I mean, what he's doing, his work rate, everything is phenomenal. Like, looks really good. But some of those shots that he's taking, and you're calling yourself a striker, and some of these balls going in. Yeah, he had a couple of great balls, but he has also had some where they didn't go anywhere, or there's a lot of like a lot of just like, let's kick the ball into the defender and hope that it goes for a corner.
Yeah.
And if that's the tactic, great, but it doesn't seem like it is, which then sort of takes his stock down just a little bit, in my opinion.
But again,
but that aside, I think he's fit into this team. He's with Sonny being gone, he definitely has solidified that left side to where you're worrying less about what's going to happen. I think he was a good addition, and I think with maybe a shot or two that end up on goal.
He'll end up scoring a goal.
He had one against Everton, which we'll get to, which it wasn't greatest shot, but at least
that one. It wasn't hit with much power, but it was definitely placed.
It was soft.
I guess, and then just finish up with Brentford. That's sort of the end of the game. That a doggy. I that pass back to Vicario, and what in the world is he doing there? What is?
Well, I felt like Tony.
Udogi, or what
happened.
Is
Tony? No, what is Tony doing?
I think at some point in the play, the prior play, like he went down on the end line and was like tying a shoe or playing with his shin guard, and just sort of ball is in transition. He's taking his sweet ass time to get back, and like enough time had elapsed where nobody expects him to be back. He wasn't even on the screen, so it was like he made the back pass and then he comes into the picture, and you're like, oh no, that's not good.
That wasn't like something that wasn't premeditated, was it?
No. And this is one of my. I mean, we seriously haven't talked at all about Maupay and the douchebaggery that Brentford sort of committed in that game. It was awful. I mean, I will watch on repeat Brennan Johnson's goal and his him and Madison going at it at the end and just mocking him up. I loved every bit of that. But that pass back, that whole thing, again, as a Tottenham fan, I don't know why we listen to the game with the sound on with the announcers. They're bad. They just continue to not only bash Tottenham, but like the credit that they gave Ivan Toney for that goal and how good it was blew my mind. What a finish!
You probably could have made
one with the keeper.
You could have made it.
You're one of the most. You're gonna be one of the most expensive strikers in the world. You should be able to do that with your eyes closed. Like, incredible finish. Like it was a gift.
Yeah.
It was a gift.
And if anything, you should be almost discussing the laziness it is to get back on defense to try to put yourself back in the game, because
that's true.
He's cherry picking. I mean, not that it wasn't premeditated. It was
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Maybe we should drop the Brentford game. I mean, it was a good game, good finish. They're tons of fun to watch. They do give me
good second half.
heartburn.
First half again, not a good game. And even the second half, we still struggled a little bit on defense. Like it's
I do want to make one point.
We can talk about this. If I'm going to bridge the last couple games, I'll include Man City with this as well. Again, Man City, they're so good. I'm struggling a little bit with Romero. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing, but he is just his timidness on the ball. And I know I got used to it at the beginning because I sort of like enveloped myself in this Ange Postecoglou system where they're trying to bait defenders in so that they can go forward, and we're playing slow out of the box, and we're playing it out of the box. And it annoyed me at first because he was just so lackadaisical on the ball. But even more lately, because it's not only lackadaisical, I feel like his defense has sort of taken account. Like, he's just not as big of a presence in the back that I would like him to be. And I think the goal against there was something to say about the goal in Everton that Everton had that he was a part of. That again, he's not reacting fast enough. The choices that he's making aren't quite that sort of like top tier defender that we need him to be.
I guess do you have an opinion, Matt, Sam, or?
I hear where you're coming from, Matt. I think my personal opinion is that he's still a world-class defender. I do think that there may be some, because he is an aggressive player, he's had some moments that weren't great, the red cards and the hard challenges that he's painted as himself as an aggressive player to the league, and that maybe he's trying to reel it in a little bit so that it doesn't happen, that he's playing more for the team and less for himself, and being that aggressive. So I hear where you're coming from. I still have a lot of trust in him.
I do too. I agree with you. I feel like it's not timidity or lackadaisicalness, but more about I feel like he's a little too casual.
Yeah.
Like he's very confident.
Yeah, I guess maybe
feet.
that is what I'm alluding to.
It's just being a little too casual on the ball. Like sometimes he'll yeah, I mean, I like the fact that he'll wait for people to come at him, but sometimes he waits a little too long, and sometimes the pass that he makes ultimately are not connecting. So something, maybe decision making at times, but I don't know if I wouldn't call it lackadaisical. And the other thing is, I agree with Sam. I think that there probably is an element of like he's been talked to, like you are such an important part of this team, we cannot afford to have you sent off. Or like sent off for, because I think the next red card he gets, doesn't he have 4 games off? I think.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's like 4 games. And it's like, I think there's an element of him being very careful and calculating about not reacting. And I think then he loses some of that, what makes him such a good player. But
I know, but just I think they're, ideally I'd like that sort of balance in between the two, with him being our team captain with Sonny out, and like just getting himself and the team into it.
That's a key point. With Sonny out, he is the captain.
Right.
And so you can't afford to, that's probably another piece of why he is being less aggressive.
But I feel like even with Sonny too, like you need that sort of like just a little bit more fire to get, not only get yourself pumped up, but get the team pumped up.
He can't really, I think he's on a knife's edge. He can't, there's nothing in between like all out aggression and like, taking it easy. He can't, he doesn't have like it goes from 0 to 11. There's no 10.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's go on to yesterday's game. For me, let's talk about the game first, and I guess individuals next. But like for me, I'm just like, it's okay. It's going to be fine. Much like I reacted to the Man City game, it's fine. Man City, despite their like dominance, that goal was so scrappy, and that was the only goal in the game. I mean, there was no, much like this one at Everton yesterday. Everton's a good team. Everton's well coached, and they have this chip on their shoulder about being, potentially relegated because of the 10-point deduction.
Surely.
And it's like they're playing for something that we're not. And I think that was evident in the way they played. I don't feel like, I feel like they probably deserved a draw. We could have seen it through, but they probably deserved it based on how they played.
Are you saying Everton deserved it or Tottenham deserved it, or sort of
Everton
both?
deserved the draw.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm
I
like,
feel like the Everton game, but we're still, but like I understand what you're saying. I just still it wasn't Ange ball. Like there were moments of it throughout the game, but we're not stringing it together. And I think that's what I'm missing is like if we're playing a certain way and we draw, I'm okay with it. But it's still I'm not getting that exciting fun again bits and moments of it. But we're not putting it together. And seeing the starting lineup, I expected it from the very beginning again, and we got that goal shortly after the game started. But then again, then you kind of pull it back, and we're playing to the other team where we're not. You're losing the high press, and you're losing that sort of like momentum going forward, and then all of a sudden you're sitting back, and it's like, we were talking about it in the chat, like you're allowing the corners, and this is the scariest part of the game is when you're getting these big guys on Everton forward and looking at what happened at Man City, and just these set pieces for us aren't sitting well. And when you're giving them over and over and over again, it's not like they're scoring off of 2 corners in a game, like corner after corner after corner.
No, they're playing for it. They're definitely playing for it. But I think that we can be better about conceding those corners. Like, I think the one that was ultimately scored on Udogie, there was no reason for him to have to head that out. He kind of probably controlled it and then sent it, to the touchline rather than going to the byline.
Isn't that Ange ball? Like, play the ball out, like take risks,
but not like just head it out for no apparent reason, really.
Right.
But I think that, I don't know. I feel like it's still a work in progress. When you think about the lineup, I don't think Madison and Rodrigo Benton, I don't think they play together. So it's like they're still learning, or maybe they play together.
They played the last game. And,
the last game.
Did they?
No.
Did Benton go off in Man City and Madison came on late?
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
So it's like they're still learning to play together. So I don't think that we can really judge the last couple of games by, calling it Ange ball or not Ange ball, because it's still a work in progress. I do feel like Everton played very well.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have done a lot better we were super sloppy with our passes. I never want to see Højbjerg again. I really, he's done. I'm done with him. I don't care who you put in there.
There it
is. I don't
care.
Yeah, there it is.
And again,
I'm going to disagree. And I hate that I want to disagree because there's so many times.
If he ever plays again. I never want to see him. I can't wait for Basuma to get back. Once he's he's so bad.
He did. I
feel like he played okay.
I find myself defending him a bit more this season, but I do not want to defend him for that Everton game. He was not good.
He was horrible.
There were some moments where he was all right.
He does not know what to do. The only reason I want to get out,
he's got this new hairdo with like this like weird little middle part thing with the. I don't know.
Yeah, and Madison has his is kind of growing out too. I don't know. I prefer it.
What are we doing? I was. Again, I think I'm going through these transitions through the season with some of these players where like there are moments where I want to get rid of Højbjerg, and there's moments where I feel like he needs to be able to come off the bench and sort of provide something different for the team.
I'm fine with that. Do not start him anymore. Like
right. Was it Everton or maybe I'm going back to Brentford, but like I feel like Skip has been playing much better. And
he didn't
come off the bench.
He came off the bench
in
yesterday.
Brentford, or did he come up? Or
both
days?
Did. He came up. He started the Brentford game.
Started that game.
He started, because the Brentford game was. I thought he was one of the only shining lights in that first half. So I was disappointed to see him come off.
Yeah, but I
think Højbjerg came on, and he was part of why they played so much better. He was pushing the ball forward.
Well, they changed tactically. He did something at that halftime.
Totally.
But like I think we were bothered. We were bothered by they pressed really high, which I was surprised at. I felt that Everton really put the high press on us, that it didn't allow us to get into any rhythm. And again, it's credit to them. I mean, they did play a very good game, and that's why I'm like, if we played poorly, I would be more disappointed, but we played okay, and we played a team at home. We played Wednesday. They had the Thursday off. Maybe you train a little bit on Friday, and then you've got to travel from London to Liverpool. And it's like that's you're not having any real training, and you're still tired. And I feel like that was a tough turnaround to me. So coming away with a
get that,
draw
but
at
it's
a hard
also
place to play, and they have something to play for. They have a chip on their shoulder that,
Yeah, but we have something to play for too. This is a new Tottenham. We need to show people who we are and that this is not that, we are back to Tadera's to do.
Yeah.
Actually back for Tadera's to do.
But
I guess we missed the mark on that. We weren't as daring as we need to be.
But that's credit to Everton for taking us out.
I'm enjoying watching Everton. I think they're a fun team, and
they've got
some players on there.
These behemoths.
Yeah. You know what? We've got one behemoth.
Mickey Van de Ven.
Oh my God.
Mickey Van de Ven.
That guy
he is the best player on the field.
He might be the best player in the league. I'm not kidding.
That guy is so fast, so big,
I'm so worried he's going to get hurt again because you can't sprint like that.
Well, even the announcers were like,
I heard
he's going down, and I'm like, leave him alone. He's a young guy. He'll be fine. But I just love how he's got so much finesse when he hustles back and goes to ground and pokes the ball out. It's like, how do you do that at his height to go to ground and get the ball away from it? I mean, he's just amazing.
Whatever he is, he's back right again. Like he's there. Slide tackle, right back. Like there is nothing stopping this dude from just taking.
I mean, he's like an Adonis. He's this super good looking 20. I mean, how old is he?
Just gonna tally all the times you call him handsome. I don't want to go to my sentiment. I felt not the same as you did, Dad. I think anytime you give up a goal with 4 minutes left to play, that's a huge disappointment. I feel like that's money left on the table, and I don't like that.
And
extra time, like it is.
You're not wrong.
And I hear everything that you're saying. It was a tough turnaround in terms of time and recovery, and they had a big week. I think my problem with that game yesterday is I felt like the game management from a substitution perspective towards the end of the game was flawed. Like, Dragusin, I don't know enough about him. He's only come in with 10 minutes left to play in both games.
I'm fine with that.
Brian Hill, but like I felt like when those people start to come into the game is when I felt like we're losing grip of what's happening here, and they're inevitably going to score. Like I just felt like the tides turned as soon as our starters started to sort of fade into the background and off the field. It was just like, I got a bad feeling about this.
I hear you.
Well, and Brian Hill, he's on there to bring out a tired Werner. Like there's,
and I get that. I totally understand.
He was shot.
Yeah, he was shot. And then you know what, like that Dragusin, he made me nervous yesterday.
Same.
I thought he was gonna.
You shaky.
And it was like
card.
I mean,
it was like penalty. Like, what are you doing?
Okay. I do like it though.
It did remind me. Nah, but it's not the right time. And there were, he's extending arms, and it's like we got away. I feel like we got away with a little bit.
Agreed.
Again, the announcers, I don't know what they're saying. They're like, "Oh yeah, that wasn't really a foul." And I'm like, I don't know.
The second one, Van de Ven had covered anyway. I'm not sure why he did what he did, but that wasn't in the penalty box. It wasn't in the 18-yard box anyway. But the first one, I was like, it wasn't a penalty, but it's on the other hand, like maybe you shouldn't be taking.
Just be careful. Yeah, like
at that point in the game.
Don't do anything stupid. Like I don't want VAR to slow it down. All of a sudden, his arms going like that.
I do. He's a big boy, though. I do like that. I didn't think he was that big. He's strong.
I felt like even the last game that he came in, he was just going in so aggressive right off the bat, and it was like, who is this guy?
And then I don't know if you remember, there was one incident near the end of the game where he let a ball bounce, Instead of going up for the header, it was in our half actually. Instead of going up for the header while it was in the air, he let it bounce, which, like as you know, as a coach, you say never let it bounce.
Yeah.
And when he did, they ended up getting possession. It ultimately didn't come to anything, but still.
Yeah, I just felt like it was not the right time for him to come in.
Yeah.
And the way he played sort of confirmed it to me once he started making those.
I'd like to see him get more time.
I think that's what he needs. Like, he needs to find a rhythm. Like, and maybe he's trying to be aggressive to establish himself in this sort of like, all right, if I'm only going to get so much time, I need to come in and show people what I can do.
I wouldn't mind seeing him give one of the two center backs a rest, or let them take some time off and see what you can do. I mean, we've got three home games coming up in a row, right?
You're not taking Van de Ven out unless he's hurt, and you can't take Romero because he's our captain. Like, you maybe pull off one of those guys off early, maybe like the 60th, 70th minute mark. But
I don't know. You could give him a Madison as a co-captain. You could give Romero a rest, but
yeah,
I don't know.
That's
so let's go into like individual performances in the Everton game.
All right, let's start in the back and sort of make our way forward. I'm gonna
Van de Ven God.
Well, let's go. He was man of the match for Tottenham. Like Vicario, I think he continues to be a great presence. I hate the fact that we're like, there are some times that like we can be a little bit more critical of him, and it comes again in these corner kicks. Like, I don't want to see him, get a card or anything, but I feel like he's due for showing people like, stop messing with me. Take somebody down. Like, I'll take a yellow card for this. Keep coming at me, and I'm not going to let this happen.
So a couple of thoughts. I mean, it's not really being physical. It's about being thrown off balance. Like that twat of a, whatever that guy's name, number 11. What's his name for
Harrison?
Harrison. He's backing into him, and he throws him off balance. It's not about being strong.
Yeah.
It's about
if you're strong, you're not getting thrown off balance.
But if you're in the air and you're being backed into, you could be Arnold Schwarzenegger and you're gonna be flat.
In the air. Well, and that's where I feel like the refs need to come into play, and you can't do that.
But I think the challenge with being a goalkeeper in those situations, like you're a field player, you can go to ground and try to get the call, and if you don't, it doesn't really matter all that much. Totally. As a goalie, you've got to stay in the play. Because if you don't get the call, you run the risk of having an open net. So it's a delicate thing where, like, yeah, you're being shoved off balance and you being run into, but you have to stay in it. And
so does, like, if he threw Harrison to the ground, would that be a foul? Like, if he just...
That's a good question. I'd have to ask you that.
I feel like it would. I feel like that's one of those situational plays, right? Where if you go back and look and see that Harrison is sort of abusing him, yeah, you're gonna you give that to the keeper. It's fine. But if it's just to throw him to the ground because he's being annoying, then that's going to be on the keeper's fault. I think it's
a lot of people are saying like we should do a better job as a team, like protecting him, like putting somebody between. But on the other hand, there may be an element of him not wanting that, because then you've got like 2 bodies around him or 3 bodies around him as opposed to.
Well, I think that is. Right, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's hockey, whether it's whoever, like whatever sport you're playing, your keeper is the craziest person on the field.
Oh, he's a nut job. I love him. I love Vicario.
But that's what a keeper is a nut job, right? Like, nobody in their right mind wants to just sit back there and get pelted, whether it's, again, a lacrosse ball, hockey puck, whatever it is. So, like, if your defense, your team is responsible for you're not going to give this guy any shit. Like, this is our keeper. And if you feel like he's getting sort of attacked a little bit more than usual, this is where your team comes in. And
unless you're the Everton keeper, don't you just want to punch him in the face?
I don't even bring him up. I cannot stand him. I
have a love-hate relationship with Pickford. I think that there is something
tool.
I think it's comical.
He's got all these weird ticks, and like he wears tight shorts, and you just want to like stop being such a.
And I don't think he's that good. Like, I think
he did make some good saves. I mean, Madison had a couple shots that I thought were in, and
He's England's number one, isn't he?
Which blows my mind. But I know it blows my mind. I think he's their number one because he's such a like.
And do you know the way he winds up before he takes a kick? Have you ever watched his arms like go like that before he takes a goal kick? It's crazy.
I think he's kind of funny. I like him in a weird, like, kind of not like him way. Yeah. I don't know.
So we've talked about Vicario, we've talked about Van de Ven, we've talked about Cootie too. I think he's awesome. I love him.
I'm not in the same sense that I love Van
What about Romero, or what about the backs? What about Udogie and
I feel like I think so if I'll take this one. Porro has taken a step down. I feel like the last couple of games, he's not quite in it as much as I feel that he was in it. And I feel like his place kicks aren't like, he's just sort of taken a step down a little bit. I don't see him quite as much. And then,
I mean, again, hold up with him though. He's played every minute of every game. That guy needs, I still think he's the player of the year so far.
I guess I'm being extra critical of him because he's been so phenomenal for us, and I agree. I do think he doesn't because
he doesn't like invert as much as Udogie does. Like I would like to see him come in field a little bit more, but maybe that's something that he's been told not to do. Because Udogie's like he makes these incredible like gut busting runs.
Yeah,
like. And he's going to tire out too. I mean, do we really have cover for either one of those? You know, you could argue that Davies on the left side.
Yeah, but Davies isn't.
Do we have anybody to cover Porro?
Royal.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that Dragushin could do that. I don't
know. I think you got Dragusin. I think you got Royal can go on either side, and Ben Davies is going to play on the left. But they're not going to give you none of those boys are going to give you what Udogie can do. And I'm super happy to see him sort of back on the score sheet. But yeah, Udogie's going to be a stud for a long time. And again, he had those 2 mistakes against Brentford, and he maybe had a couple mistakes to get against Everton, but he's a star.
I mean, I'll live with those because he's he's so dangerous. And people are, it's like, Sam, it's like watching Matt Minuti come up from like his center back position. And people do not like seeing guys of that size coming at him full speed.
I don't think you can compare Udogie to Matt Minuti, but.
Well, no, but it's just like they don't like seeing
who are these people that you're talking about?
Those center mids coming, these big guys barreling down on you, whether they're good or not, doesn't really matter. It's like, oh, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so midfield, Bentancur.
I'll take Bentancur. Because I'm a fan. I love him. I think he's a great player. I think he's got an incredible
personality.
I think he's got a really good soccer IQ in terms of where the ball needs to go to make the next play. But I think, like you talked about Romero, he's just a little too comfortable on the ball, and he'll hold on to it for the 1.5 seconds too long, and then make the bad pass that goes to the other team. And you're like, you should have gotten it up one touch and off your foot, but. He was just okay. He wasn't good. He wasn't terrible.
I just love his body language. I love the way he moves. I love it's just so silky. I think he's still getting up to the speed of the game. He's still recovering.
I don't even see him. I haven't seen him the last couple of games. I forget that he's even on the field.
I think that's why we need Basuma back.
Which is sort of, I guess these last couple of games, it's been rough because like for so long, this is what I've thought, and I feel like this is what a lot of people have thought, like to have Bentancur, to have Madison take care of your middle, like
I said,
teams should be afraid, and instead of teams being afraid, they're coming at us and just like bullies. It's the opposite of what I sort of anticipated happening, and not to say that it won't happen. I expected that like once they came back, like it was gonna click.
But like they've never played together. That's the thing. I mean, they're going to learn. And Bendikor, I think, is still recovering. I mean, he's still coming back. He's still trying to get back to the speed of the game. There are a lot of things that, we can't expect too much from him. But again,
right.
but like I mentioned in the text, I feel like we've made him out to be some kind of
100%. I agree with that.
Best players in the world, and he's a good player, but he's not.
Yeah,
I think he's a good player.
What would make you think that he's one of the best players in the world?
Well, the way we've been talking about, we can't wait, Bendikar
but
comes
it's the
back,
way that he played. It's the way that he was playing under Conte. It's the way that he played sort of when he came back from his ACL tear, like those first 2 games before he got hurt again. The way that he showed that he could get the ball off into certain areas, you're like, whoo. Whereas now it's like Madison is doing all of that. Yeah, but watching Madison pass the ball, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Whether it's the outside of his boot, whether it's the inside, like he just knows what to do with it. He puts the ball. He's like, I see you running. I'm going to bend it around this defender and try and put it on your foot. And
it does most of the time. It goes right where he's looking. I mean, that assist was so sweet. Footwork that people dream of, and it just the perfect layoff right where Richarlison needed it.
But
Madison
what a finish!
So good.
I mean, he still had a lot to do.
Yeah, I'm still my Richarlison thoughts are still swirling.
I'm all
right. Well, let's finish up. We've talked about Madison. I think he's getting back, but he's not there yet. He's not all the way back.
Let's give you 2 minutes on Højbjerg. Let's just empty the tank. Just empty the tank.
Such a tool. He does not know how to play the system. He can't pass. He can't he panics. And I think that's what irritates me more than anything. I mean, he even had a couple shots on goal that dude, there's nobody on you. At least put it on frame. Don't sky it over.
Yeah, but
whatever.
To be fair, he's also put a couple of those in the back.
Yeah, he's had some success from that range.
I just can't stand him. The only saving grace right now is that he's not because last year and prior years, he's orchestrating everybody. You should have done that. At least he's not doing that because he knows that he can't do what he's asking others to do. So
yeah, I guess. Okay.
I didn't feel like I think before he was playing as if there were periods of time where he looked really good, hoping that someone was going to come in for him. When they didn't, now he's just going to play shitty for the rest of the year, and I don't want to see it. Never want to see him again.
What about
you? Will though inevitably.
Johnson and Werner. We kind of talked about Werner a little bit already.
Yeah, I'm still a Johnson fan. I think he's got a lot of he's just. I don't know why people are so down on him. Apparently, I'm not on social media, but they apparently
it's the fact that you paid what 60 million.
It's not his fault.
50, 60 million. But I think that's why people are down. Is you pay that much money, you sort of expect that to be an instant impact, and not to say he hasn't had an impact. My problem with Everton's game was they didn't see the ball. We weren't able to use the outside, so I can't give them a fair rating because I don't think they were utilized enough.
And that's what they did against Brentford. They came out and they just constantly fed Werner, and they got the ball wider, and then look what it did. I agree.
Johnson's I think able to move a little bit more on the inside, and it was.
I think he's hustling back on defense. I think he's making a difference. He's running the field. He's going box to box. He's getting wide. He's doing what Andrew's asking him to do. We're just not getting the ball.
I think he's doing some of those intangibles real well. The pace that him and Werner have on the outside is
crazy. We just need to start using it.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly happy with both of them. Richie, those goals were not easy. Neither one of them. I mean, that's when he is at his best, when he can just react. He can't attack people and dribble around necessarily, but when he can make those, react to, one touch, they were so good. I'm a huge fan. And then he worked so hard. He didn't hold the ball up particularly well. I thought he did a much better job against Brentford, but I'm a huge fan.
I was reading Sam's face a little bit, and I think that I'm not going to take words out of your mouth, Sam, but I think I'm probably in Sam's camp when it comes to Richie. I think, you look at his stats. What is it? 8 goals in 7 games now, or
9 goals in 8?
9 goals in 8 games. Yeah, those are stud numbers, and you can say that, Harry Kane's gone and he's putting all these goals, which we absolutely need. But the goals, great. They're these one touch. All that other time, though, I'm not seeing it. You're talking about his hold-up play not being that great. His touch in the midfield has been awful. He's like trying to make a turn and it's a bad touch, and all of a sudden it's going back the other way. He's putting the balls in the net that should go in the net because everybody else was doing what they were supposed to be doing, which again, like a striker should be doing that. I'm not on that gosh, let's give this guy $90 million and extend his contract, because I feel like you could get any.
So who are you going to get for $90 million that would do better?
Well, hang on. I don't want to talk about hypotheticals yet. I want to stick on Richie's game. I think I agree with everything Matt's saying. Like, that's sort of where my head's at. And I think the stats don't tell the story of what's been happening with his play. I love the stats. I'm so glad that he's got 9 goals in 8 games. But if you were to watch that, 720 minutes of just Richarlison, you'd be kind of disappointed. Like, you say he does those, one time look at goal, put it on, but that's all he does. Like, even when he's in a bad position, his first move is to turn around and rip it on net, even if he can't see the goal. And but a lot of those goals are just sort of one-time finishes, and he doesn't really have hold-up play. If it's not in the box, he's almost non-existent. Yeah, he hustles, but it's sort of it looks like he's working harder than he actually is. And
you don't think his work rate is something that you can't his work rate is incredible. Kane never did that. I don't think his work rate Kane never pressed like that.
Son does.
Well, Kane didn't need to press. Kane didn't need to press like that, and we needed Kane to orchestrate. We needed him to sit back so we could orchestrate some of that other stuff. I'm not saying anything about Richarlison's work rate. I don't think Richarlison's work rate is effective. Sometimes he can draw defenders out from side to side. Great. My current thought right now is
how many times did that keeper kick the ball out of bounds because Richie was chasing him out? That happened at least 3 or 4 times where Dick had booted the ball out and it gave it right back to us because Richie was chasing him down. I disagree with I think his work rate is so important to what Ange wants to do.
Well, to be a little pro Richie for a second, right? He hasn't gotten a whole lot of 90-minute games, so
he's played 100 minutes the last 2 games.
So I'm saying that's pretty good. But I wish him and Werner. So I have these opposite, in my mind, these opposite sort of characteristics where Werner's got this work rate that's super effective and he's moving up and down the field and he just can't finish. Whereas Richarlison is the opposite. He's you can miss Richarlison for 89 minutes and then thankfully you get him the right ball and he's going to put it in the back of the net.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
It's the opposite. I'm watching it. He's not.
I'm in agreement with you, Matt. And so when I think about my frustrations over the last 3 games with Man City, Brentford, and Everton, is that final third collective. And Richarlison is a big component of that. There are so many wasted opportunities where we're just sort of working the ball blindly. Nobody's making the run. Richarlison should be making those runs into space where somebody can play him the ball, but we're just passing it, dinking it back and forth. And then it starts to creep back, and then we're playing it back to Vicario and trying to get it back into that part of the field. There's just nothing you watch a Man City, and they're working the ball around, and they're making that play towards goal. Tottenham's just been sort of floating it around. Richarlison needs to make that run into space to attack the net, but it's just everybody's sort of like standing around waiting for that move.
We're trying to walk the ball into the net, and we're not getting. We get so narrow when we do that there's no width, and I think that's part of the problem. So we're just we're doing some really cool, nifty moves at the top of the box, and even inside the box, but they don't really amount to anything because we're too narrow, and we're trying to be too cute. But that's my.
I think Richie. I think what I'd like to see happen with Richie is for him to just like, I don't know, start squatting and just become sort of like a tree in the sense of like when he gets that ball to be able to like bait that defender and to pull him. That was what Kane did so well, was like he'd hold on to that ball and be like people would take him down, and then all of a sudden it's a foul, and now we can push the ball forward again in his hold of play. Like I'd love to see Richie just like be stronger on the ball.
I don't know.
No, that's what Kane did. He was able, like, he would bait defenders into pulling them down. And whether or not he was acting or not, he would still, like, in our style of play right now, you get pulled down, whoop, ball. Somebody's moving up the wing. Let's get it outside as fast as we possibly can. Sorry. I'm gonna revert real quick. That James Maddison, I think, was it Brentford that this douchebag kept like. Who was it that had like 30 fouls and should have been Norgard?
Yeah.
Was it? And and
then
then
he
got to the sense James Maddison is like, he gets fouled and he puts the ball down and he sees Norgard sitting there and like blasts it into him to try and get him that other yellow card. But I thought it was a good play, and I thought Norgard did try and stand in front of the ball. I think it should have been. Like they were like, no, that's not a yellow card. I was like, you could see him pause and try and stop the play. He didn't try and get out of the way.
Well, he had another foul. He had another foul that should have been a yellow card. That even the announcers were like, that was probably he's lucky to get away with that one. And then I think he came off like 2 minutes later. I think.
That's like yesterday.
After the yellow card, he had 8 more fouls. 8.
That's the real number. That's the true number.
After a yellow card.
How about yesterday? Who was the defender that like went down? I forget who went after him, but he was in the attacking third. Did not get touched and went down like he would been like, his leg was broken. Yeah. And it's like, card. That is a yellow card, and he should have been out of the game.
100%.
Because he already had a yellow card. Which is like, 100%. It changes everything. I mean, he went down like he got like I forget, I don't even know if it was a Dogie, but it was somebody on that side. It might have been a defense or like a midfielder that got back, but it's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I do feel like yesterday, so we probably should wrap it up, but like yesterday, Richie, that led up to the goal, he did give the ball up a couple of times. And then Kulish, what was Kulu doing? That foul was so stupid. He was just annoyed that the guy got away. There was cover for him. There were 2 people that were, but he just hacked the guy down. And that free kick is what, ended the game. To me, that was just like ridiculous. And he's got to be smarter. He's got to be less lazy. You don't just hack a guy down because he gets by you.
And unfortunately, that's not the first time that's happened with Kulu. Leading the goal.
Not to dive too far into Kulu, but I feel like teams are starting to figure him out. Like in the early stages, it was like the ball was stuck to his foot like glue, and he could glide past defenders. Now it's like you need to give the ball up because you're losing it. And I just feel like his one move has been diagnosed, and everybody can stop it. And then he's got no right foot, so he's got no alternative to like.
To me, it feels like last year where he started the year really well, and then the second half he kind of fell off. It seems like it's a pattern. Like I'd like
to justify Kulu's play. I mean, the dude's been asked to play in the middle, play on the right. Yeah. Like he's been asked to do a lot, and I think there are times when it's like, okay, yeah, that was really dumb, but I still think he provides a lot for the team, and I'd almost like to see him play that 10 role a little bit more because I think, he's got a lot to offer.
Speaking of that 10 role, where is Lo Celso?
Hurt?
How? I mean, it's like he plays 2 games or half of 2 games, and then he's hurt for 10. What did he do?
probably hung
Because
out with
he would be very
Sessegnon.
useful.
Him and Sessegnon are hanging out.
I just don't get it. I don't understand. I mean,
eating
a
cheeseburgers.
guy like that could have made a difference, coming in for Madison instead of, whatever we did. It's like, I don't know. I don't get it. But anyway, what do you think? We wrap it up?
Real quick before we do, what do we think about the transfer window? We didn't talk about that at all.
I'm totally happy with it.
I think we had the best transfer window in the.
Well, I mean, that's not saying a whole heck of a lot, but I think Dragutin is going to be helpful.
I think that's
really
saying
love Werner.
I think that's saying a whole shit ton because it's showing you that Tottenham are sort of like making waves, and you saw that with this super young kid. I don't know the Swedish dude coming out
you
and
thought
saying
was 24 and he's 17.
Yeah, he turned 18 on the day that he signed, but he's coming out and saying that like Tottenham are starting something special. Like we're seeing this transition at Hotspur way, and I think that's only going to grow. People are loving Ange. I think they're loving what we're doing, and
that we're on the up and up.
We're
not like financial fair play,
right? And that's that FFP I think is huge because there've been we as fans will just berate these guys for not doing what they need to do, but it's coming to it's starting to come to fruition, and we're seeing that maybe they were making the hard decisions and
whether it was by luck or by whatever.
Right. Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, but it's benefiting us.
We pipped both Bayern Munich and Barcelona, which is crazy.
Two of the biggest clubs in the entire world.
They wanted to come to Tottenham over Bayern Munich and Barcelona.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
In two players who are sought after, right? So you've got this Dragusin guy, again, super young. And I don't know the story, right? We've got this ridiculous manager that's saying all these different things, but I like the fact that it's sort of like, I made a commitment to Tottenham, and I'm going to kind of stick to that. And it's been said that he has aspirations, like Tottenham's not his end state. He wants to go play Real Madrid. He wants to go play, La Liga.
Maybe we'll be the biggest club in the world.
Who knows? But then you've got this Swedish guy who's, if I were a stud and I had Barcelona coming at my door, like, you kidding me? Like,
I think Kulusevski had a lot to do with that one.
Great. That's wonderful, but still to like choose Tottenham over Barcelona, like, is massive. And I don't know if doesn't matter. Like, if you're a young kid and you see this Barcelona team who's kind of struggling and the manager's coming out and saying, I'm leaving, like, does that have anything to do with it? Or, I don't know. But if Barcelona came knocking at my door, it's like, yeah.
All right, boys, we're kind of going on too long probably. So next week we have Brighton. That's going to be a tough one, but it is at home.
Brighton has sucked lately.
They scored a lot of goals this weekend, though. They look great. But
maybe I'm thinking of was it earlier in the week that they lost to?
Yeah, they lost, but then they came back and they scored like 5 goals yesterday. I don't know what was the score. Yeah. Look it up, Sam.
Only one game this week, though.
They scored 4-1. Crystal Palace. They scored 4 goals.
And Crystal Palace has been playing pretty good as late too. You got some studs on that team.
Yeah, but they're all
Olise
hurt.
And
they keep getting hurt, which is actually Crystal Palace have not been playing that good. They're in dire straits.
Some of those guys are good, I should say. Yeah. Also, you've got Basuma's back. He'll be back. They just got knocked out.
Yeah, but apparently he has malaria still. He's been playing with malaria.
I'm not laughing. I didn't know that.
I think that's the case. I think he still has it. Like, he's been playing with it, but I don't know if that's true.
Yellow fever. And Sar needs to get back in. He was non-existent.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't really do. But I didn't expect him to. I mean, the poor guy's been like, how long is the trip from Africa to London? And I think he just landed like the day before.
Was it? I thought he was there before the other game, but maybe I'm.
No, this was his first game back.
No, I know, but I thought he landed.
No,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Hopefully he comes back in, has a presence. Hopefully we get Basuma back and
Sonny.
he plays a little bit better. We'll get Sonny back at some point. But they might give him another month-long sabbatical to try and get
He needs it,
back
man.
to
That guy. Jurgen Klinsmann is pissing me off.
Yeah, but then again, he's coming in the whatever, he's scoring these free kick goals at the end of games, and
well, and he got the penalty. I don't know why he didn't take it. That was a weird one to me. Anyway.
All right. Well,
all right,
but
fellas.
we hopefully we see this team sort of come to and we can stay healthy and COYS.
All right.